I certainly love a real life character, especially when it's like almost stranger and more beautiful than fiction. You know, a lot of the roles that I've played and chosen to play fall into that category, and Sharon is definitely one of them. I mean, just to think that what she gave from her heart and just like the work ethic that she had to get to the finish line is so inspiring. And I also loved the characters. I loved everybody, everyone involved, and how well written they were, and you know, every single character brought something to the way I was feeling. I could see their points of view, but I also just, like I said before, I was just taken by the fact that an ordinary person going through life just found that grace in their heart to want to help another human. I just find that, especially right now, nowadays, with all that we're seeing in the news and a lot of, well, a lot of stuff that is upsetting, to see this goodness that's out there and happening as well, just really, really spoke to me. Sharon is a go-getter. She is someone who doesn't like to sit down. She likes to have fun. She likes to really attack life with all of herself. She gets in there and wants people to be their best, and is flawed like any human being. And she is trying to figure it out like we all are, and yet with such heart and such determination and a lot of care. Sharon walks into the life of these unknowing human beings who are going through a crisis and a very difficult and sad time. They don't know what the future is going to hold. And she walks in through her heartstrings getting pulled by seeing an article in the newspaper, and she just kind of shows up and kind of says, I've been called to do something to help these people. And in she walks, and she doesn't leave until she does what her heart is asking her to do. Sharon's relationship with the girls is so fun. I think she brings some light into the gloom and doom that they were experiencing in their lives, understandably, with losing their mother and Michelle being just so sick and really struggling. But it's such the beauty of kids, that they're so in the moment that they don't get caught up in the what ifs. They really are just present, and I think that Sharon is the same. I think she's really a present person, so when she's with them, there's a lot of laughter, and she doesn't think about what the future's gonna hold. She's just in the moment now. What can I do now? Yes, to make the future better for the people around me, but how can I make it better for all of us right now? Right away, I knew that both Skywalker and Emily were, they're greatly gifted. They are amazingly adept at understanding story and character, and I'm forever taken by this scene that I did with Emily, where there's a lot of improving, because John says, you know, improv, just like go with it. And I was asking her about a necklace that she was wearing that was handmade, and I just said, you know, oh, where'd you get that? And she said, oh, I made it with my mom. And I said, oh yeah? And she said, yeah, and now my mom will always be with me. I know. And I was like, I think I went, and I didn't want to throw her off, so I just kept going, but I mean, at 5 years old, she's just, both of them are gonna have great careers ahead of them if they so choose to remain actors. How Rose is this, you know, they're yin and yang a little bit. Like Sharon's like, let's go. And she's like, hang on, let's think it all out. So it's kind of nice that they bring that out in each other. But Rose is a great friend because Rose is shining a bright light on something that needs to be looked at and in Sharon's life. And it's so important to have friends like that who are honest with us and hold our feet to the fire when needed, especially with someone like Sharon who's like, later, let's live now. So I think a friendship like that is a real blessing. The room that John gives us to play in the play box and to have fun and to mix it up is one in which has made working with all of the actors just a real gift and a lot of fun. He is so optimistic. He's just such a gift. To work with someone who's written a script can sometimes be really challenging because they're so married to their words and what it sounds like and the cadence, and that can be challenging because, of course, if you want to switch anything up or switch the cadence, it can fall on the ears of someone who's lived with it for a long time. And yet he's written it and he just has such trust in his actors, saying, I give this over to you, you're embodying it, and you'll know what feels right. I'd say some of the themes in this film are to never judge, because we never know what someone else is going through. To give a wide berth to people, to give people a second chance, to believe in miracles, to love like there's no tomorrow, and to try and keep being better all the time. I think, quite frankly, it's a miracle just to be able to continue to do what I love. I love being a storyteller, and I knew I wanted to be an actor since I was 8 years old, and that I'm now 47 and still living that dream. It's a blessing on blessings, and probably a miracle. I've encountered so many angels here on earth walking in shoes as a human being that I completely believe that angels are amongst all of us, that we're all have the capability of being an angel depending how we choose to live our lives every day. And that's just it, is we do have a choice. We have a choice in how we want to step into our lives every single day. And that means helping others, helping ourselves to be a better person so that we can therefore help others. I wish there were more movies like this. And that was one of the things when I read this script. I just thought, wow, this is so nice to read, because there's just not material like this out there anymore.
Ed is a blue-collar roofer. He is a guy who's trying to mind his own business and just take care of his family. He's a good guy that's dealt with a ton of pain. Ed loses his wife that he cared about very much, and struggles to keep his family together with little to no resources, which is unfortunately a story that all too many people have these days. I think a lot of people struggle with resources. Getting by is a day-to-day uphill battle. And when you start to throw in the tragedy of losing somebody that you love, it can make it feel unbearable at times. So Ed personifies that. There's so many colorful grays in between the black and white, as I think anybody would experience when dealing with trauma. I think we all, at one point or another have our doubts. But I think at the end of the day, he believes in God, but wrestles with that relationship, as we should. I think God invites those conversations. I think God would much rather have us wrestle with him than ignore him or try to do this all on our own. And I think that's where we meet Ed. deep down he does have faith, and I think eventually he comes around, as I think many of us do or will, but I think it's a real challenge, getting there to the point where there's a relationship which is completely understandable. The clash of the tidal waves. We've got a man who can't ask for help, refuses to ask for help, and doesn't want any, and Sharon, who will insert herself like a comma in the middle of a sentence that doesn't want one. She has decided to make this family her mission without permission, and it's I think part of the fun of this movie is seeing if she'll be right in her quest. Will she pull off these miracles that she's promising these strangers? If she's wrong, it's like salt in the wound, and I think it would be rather tragic. If she's right, this becomes a special, unique, and beautiful kind of love story that she devoted herself and worked tirelessly to do whatever it took to help. What I love about the story is that it's one of the rare love stories that's completely platonic. I mean, there's nothing sexual about this relationship. It's just a beautiful story of people helping each other because it's the right thing to do. And as painful as it is to watch the drama unfold, at the end of the day, I think it's one of the most redemptive stories that there is, just watching an entire community rally around this little girl to try and save her. This story had never come across my world. Of course, having read the script, the script is there's so much drama in the script that you're like, this can't be real. This is like if somebody's trying to create the craziest, most dramatic, painful story in the world, this is maybe what you try and come up with. And I was shocked to find out that this is not only a true story, but that in all actuality, this man lost his wife, he lost one daughter, and then he had to fight to keep his other daughter alive. I didn't know about this story before reading the script. So when I was reading the script, it was sort of every page turn was a surprise, and the emotional roller coaster was almost too much at times. On page 1, I laughed out loud twice. So I was like, oh, it's kind of a fun story. And on page 2, I had tears in my eyes, and I was like, what are we in for? And I remember on page 23, I started crying reading, because you start to see how this story is affecting the world around them, and how people are starting to pull together to root for. You start to root for this story, the family, and it sucks you in. Talking about faith, Scripture points to the unlikeliest of heroes all the time. It's always the unexpected, the outcasts, the unlovable that prove the powerful and the arrogantly wise wrong. I mean, that's where we're taught humility through people like Sharon, and she proves once again that oftentimes the people that we don't think have much to offer are exactly the heroes that we need. I think we like to take on our pain alone. It's something that we have a difficult time talking about, like, what's wrong with me? I'm going to keep that to myself. I'd rather present myself as this unbroken, uncracked veneer, right? This facade of health. And that's none of us. It's none of us. We all have our issues. We all have our demons, the things that we go to war with about ourselves, are the things that we wish we could change. We all have that, and it's important that we talk about this. The character of Sharon is ordinary is a difficult word, because there's nothing plain about her. She's rather a rainbow, I mean, she's vibrant. In the world that we're in of muted colors, she's the brightest one. But that can be unmanageable for some people and toxic for others, and so there's conflict there. But at the end of the day, she represents what many of us feel like we are, which is powerless. You know, who are we to change the world? Who are we to make miracles? We're all ordinary in that sense, that we lack the divine magic wand to say, poof, whatever you need, here it is. But through our efforts and our collective endeavors, we can wave a kind of magic wand. In a way, we can really affect the ether and the lives of those around us in great and small ways. And in that sense, we're all ordinary, and we all have the potential to be angels to somebody else. So, you know, I think it's a title to aspire to. There's two kinds of films. There's the popcorn films that offer us a chance to escape, and we need that. Those are important. Then there's the films that really remind us or awaken something in us, remind us of who we are as you know, our humanity and what we're capable of. That sows the seeds of important conversations in our lives that we should have, or you know, that we can have. And this is that kind of thing. It awakens in me when I, working on this and having read the script, it awakens in me an important sense of optimism that we can do wonderful things together.
Barbara is Ed Schmidt's mother and the grandmother of these two wonderful little girls, Michelle and Ashley. And she is very much the center of this family. She's a very salt of the earth kind of woman, a woman who has seen a lot of her own hardship, a woman who calls things like they are and is also unflinching in her love and devotion to her family and her God. She's very faith-oriented. I think Ordinary Angels is about community, family, faith, certainly, leaps of faith, and just miracles happening, and not to be cliche, but angels among us, and just and goodwill, just that what goodwill can bring. What I love best about the story is that it's true, and that I love true stories that are dynamic and dramatic, and we believe we can see ourselves in these situations. And I also love that there's something so magical about it. It really held my interest and really carried me through what could happen, what the good, the bad, the ugly, the possibility. I think what inspires me most is the fact that when people come together, and the best can happen, that people are innately, I think, good and care about each other and want the best for each other, and that sometimes when all of those stars align and everyone pulls together, amazing things can happen. Ordinary Angels is the story of a family who is going through very hard times, and a child in this family, a very young little girl, who is very ill and needs a liver transplant. And it's about how the family struggles to make ends meet and hoping for this liver to become available. And ironically and amazingly, it becomes available during the worst snowstorm in Kentucky. I think it's 1994, and the chances of getting from Louisville to Omaha, Nebraska in this horrendous blizzard are near impossible. And there is a woman named Sharon, played by Hilary Swank, who is somewhat of an angel, who somehow works hard and is committed to helping this family realize what they need. I think some of the themes in this film are certainly family, faith, not just God-like faith, but also faith in mankind, faith in each other, faith that miracles can indeed happen. I think it's also about community, the fact that a whole town, a whole city, a whole place can come together to make something happen for the good of each other. And I think it's also, in a strange way, just about perseverance, about how we struggle through a lot of the challenges that life puts in front of us, and we struggle to find a way to overcome them, and what it means to ask for help. I think I do believe in miracles, and I think we all experience miracles. For me, I don't know that they're as dramatic as having my child need a liver transplant and having her get to a place to get it. But I think sometimes it's a miracle that we live in a place that's free. I think, certainly given what's going on in the rest of the world, I think, I believe in smaller miracles. I'm healthy. My family is healthy. I'm surrounded by love. I think the miracles, they may seem small, but they're very big to me. Ordinary Angels, it's an interesting title because it almost feels like two words that don't go together. We think of angels as being some supernatural, ephemeral something, but really there are angels among us. It's everyday people, and it's not an exalted person. Sometimes it's just the person who holds your hand when you need your hand holding. And I think angels really are ordinary. They're just people. And I'm a big pet lover. Sometimes I think angels are pets. I think my little dog is an angel. So I personally don't believe in angels that are spiritual necessarily. I think that there are angels within each of us.
The relationship between the little girls, Michelle and her sister, is just so special, and it's just, even now, like, it gets me. And then they cast these two incredible young actors, and they are the sweetest, and they are going to absolutely, as great as all the rest of the actors are and all their accolades, it's those two little girls that are going to carry this movie and that are the heart and soul of it. It is fun having kids on set. I've done a lot of work with kids over the years, and when there are kids on set, there's just a certain energy that is so nice, especially on a heavy movie, and we're doing the funeral scene today, hence my, nice suit, Pastor Dave's nice suit. But to be able to break that sadness up with levity of these kids, gosh, it's a blessing. The golden rule is love thy neighbor as thyself, and I think this movie embodies that. It's even if you don't know your neighbor, in this case, Sharon didn't know this family, but was compelled to help them, and that is something I think we all can live by, and it's a great example for all of us, because it's easy to live in our own comfort zone, in our own bubble, but to go outside of that and to help others in such a major way is so inspiring. I think he is such a talent, and he's such a great human being, first and foremost. He's got so much energy, so positive. He just, he's the kind of person you want to work with. And I've been doing this long enough to know when you find something special, you hang on to it. By all accounts, he's somebody that, as I said, coming from a long line of ministers myself, I know that to do that job, you have to give up a lot of your own time and your own energy to other people. It's a service job, and you serve the congregation and the community, and from what I can tell, that Pastor Dave did that very well. Well, I think because this story, is a lot about faith, is a lot about, how we deal with each other, how we deal with tragedy and loss. Having, someone that is, a minister that is a spiritual leader is important, and I think yeah, I think there is a sense, and when I've talked to John about it, you know, that there's a sense that Pastor Dave does kind of have a bigger part than maybe the screen time would suggest, that his, you know, helps serve as kind of the figurehead of the spiritual aspect of this film. And so I've taken it very seriously, and you know, it's a great honor to play that. My dad used to say, he talked about, you know, when you're born into faith, for example, born into a family of faith, whatever it might be, you're like dogs chasing a dog that's chasing a rabbit. You haven't seen the rabbit yet, but you can see the dogs are chasing something and you're following them. And so eventually you catch up and you can see the rabbit yourself. And that's how it was for me with my faith journey, that, you know, I could say all the right things and I could, you know, sing all the songs, and I knew the scriptures, and I knew all the right places to sit and all the things to do. But, you know, at a certain point, when I became a young adult, I was able to see it for myself, see the rabbit for myself, and that's when it, you know, my borrowed faith then became my own. I mean, I think the themes that stand out to me in this movie are themes of faith, as I mentioned, but of community, of you know, loving thy neighbor as thyself, of helping thy neighbor, of the importance of family, the importance of not giving up. Those are things that we certainly can use in this day and age, especially after the last few years we've had. I think lessons for us that are evergreen. I do think it will inspire others. I think it's, you know, that's why, like I said when we sat down, that this is that thing where you're like, they should make that into a movie. You know, they really should. I'm glad they did, because it's inspiring. It's life affirming. It makes you want to kind of, you know, help that person out, whether you know them or not. It's a great example. I think in the age in which we live, and after, you know, the last several years, the post-pandemic world we're living in, seeing movies about community coming together, about helping each other, movies that are positive. I'm like, listen, I'm all for the tentpole, big budget, you know, action films, the comic book films. Those are great. But I also think it's nice to go see a movie that celebrates the ordinary angels in the world, right? The ordinary folks like you and me, that, you know, do great things.
What I really loved was this was about a little girl. That really touched my heart. This was a love story, but not about two people in love. It was about the love of this child. And when I got to the end and saw that the two main characters didn't hook up, I was even more happy, because you rarely see this. And the fact that it's based on a true story really, really touched me, that these are real people and this thing really happened. Rose is the voice of reckoning. She is a no-nonsense, but still very warm person. I think that we all know someone like Rose. You know, she gives you the business as it is. She doesn't sugarcoat anything, but she wants you to know it comes from a good place. She's not here to judge you or to make you feel bad about who you are. We all know we're individuals, and that makes us individuals. No one can be the same, but she wants the best for everyone around her. These two little girls, Emily and Skywalker, are just a piece of heaven. The casting was, I mean, out of this world, great. And those little girls, they are really gonna shine in this movie. So to be a part of their upcoming careers was a gem for me. He is amazing at telling these true stories. I've watched pretty much all of his films, and he has a style and a grace of telling the story without making it so sappy, like really allowing you to be a part of the journey. So I really love the fact that I get to work with him. She's like the Bonnie to Sharon's Clyde. If there's something that she really needs and it really has a purpose, she's gonna rally the troops up and we're gonna get it done. You know, give me a reason and a good one and it's done, you know? Like when Sharon calls Rose and she's, you know, very upset about this little girl's position. If she happens to get on the list for a transplant, how are we gonna get her there? She only has 6 hours. Don't worry about it, is Rose's thing. we're gonna figure out a way. And the ideas that they come up with together to make money to kind of help, or if money is not even a play in here, we need people. We rally the people together. So I love that Rose is a ride or die for Sharon and for whoever else is in her life, but mainly Sharon. Without faith, what do you have? Nothing. And I believe that as a person. I haven't had this beautiful career without having a strong faith. You know, sometimes life knocks you down, but if you have strong faith, you know that that's just a period of time that will pass. And what your job to do in that period of testing is to perform well. How do you overcome that? How do you not let the sadness or the fear or the challenge overtake you? It's having strong faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the Heavenly Father, faith in your ancestors that moved and paved the way for you to come through and be who you are, and faith in who you are becoming. Courage. And courage to me is not just being strong, it's also admitting when you're weak. That takes courage. So we have courage, we have faith, we have love, self-love, love for others, and humanity. Something that the world could use a lot more of today after we've all been through such a trying time of being quarantined in a home and, you know, all the other things that have happened. If we are humane to each other and we show that we do have morals as human beings to reach out and help one another, we can win. And that's another thing about this story that I really love is how everyone came together. The humility of everyone coming together and say, hey, no, we can't let this happen. This little girl's gotta survive. That is so beautiful. That title alone is so beautiful. If you sit back and just close your eyes as an individual and you ask yourself, what does that mean? I don't think you can come up with the wrong answer. What does ordinary angels mean? Does it mean that my time here, I'm surrounded by angels? Does it mean I'm an ordinary angel? What do they do? What is their responsibility? Some people tap into it, some people don't. That being an ordinary angel is inside of you too. You have choices. You could choose to do the right thing, or you could choose to be evil and not, you know? But I really hope that people choose to be an ordinary angel. And that makes the pressure of having to be an angel all the time, it takes it off because it's ordinary, it's normal. It should be a normalizing thing for people, because I feel like they all need an ordinary angel in their life right now. And I want them to go and be inspired and become an ordinary angel themselves. And it's just a feel-good movie based on a true story. So it should really touch home, you know? It should really touch your heart. But it's just one of those movies.
I had never heard of it, but you know, I did some research on it right away, of course, and there's a lot of news coverage of what was the worst blizzard in Kentucky history, and this incredible true story of this family trying to save their daughter in the midst of that storm. So I was really, really compelled by that, and by the heart and soul of it, that it's a family story, that it's a father fighting to save his daughter, and I have a daughter myself, so I really connected with the heart and soul of the thing. And then also just this very colorful and dynamic character of Sharon, you know? She's so much fun, and she's, you know, she's a spectacular character, I think, to portray and to watch, and so I was excited about that opportunity. As I was looking at the true story and looking at the real people, I feel like there's a responsibility and an obligation to tell their story in a way that honors their life. And because I've done a number of true stories, I take that responsibility very seriously. But I felt like at the heart of it, it was a story about healing And I really liked that. It's a story about how helping other people is often how we heal ourselves. And I thought that was a great message to share with the world these days, because it's a movie that shows a community coming together to help somebody they don't know. And in these very divisive times, I think that's a really beautiful message to share. And because it's a true story, it's that much more powerful. Yeah, so when the project came to me, it was called Angels. And I was looking for a descriptive word to make that more specific. And I really liked this idea that this is a story about ordinary people, broken, messy, struggling people in pain, working through their own problems, helping each other. And often, people like to talk about how we can all be angels for each other. And so I liked that idea of just ordinary people fighting through difficult circumstances, helping each other and healing themselves in the process. So Ordinary Angels seemed like a sort of more specific and fun title for this particular story. Oh, I was so excited about Hilary Swank. You get your hopes up when you're in the casting process, and when her name came up and when I heard that she was possibly interested, I was kind of holding my breath, hoping it would all happen. I have genuinely been such a big fan of hers for so long. $1 Million Baby is a movie that I've seen many times and really love. And The Gift and Boys Don't Cry, a lot of her work that I'd seen, and some of her earlier films that aren't as well known, where she's very funny and she's very always honest and complex. And so Sharon needed to be someone who could be funny and strange and beautiful and sad and all of those things together. And I said that to her right away. I was like, I've seen all of these notes and flavors and tones in your work, but not all in the same role. I think this is a great opportunity for her to show how funny she can be and how interesting and compelling, but all of that, as she bulldozes her way through this story, is done with such honesty and humanity. And so I've just been thrilled. And she's spectacular in the role. It's something I'm excited to share. Alan was a great surprise in this movie. It's not at all what I imagined the character to be to begin with, just because I was thinking of sort of an everyman and somebody who's a hardworking blue-collar guy who's, arguably not as large as Alan is. He's a big guy. And so when the idea first came up, I had seen Reacher, and I was really excited that they were making the show with him as the lead. And then one of my producers had met him and said, you should meet this guy. And I thought, well, is he really the right thing to play the everyman? And then when I met him and spoke to him instantly, I was like, oh yeah, this guy understands what it is to be a father and wants to show this side of himself that he doesn't get to show in all of his action movies and action roles. When you take on a project like this, and I have done quite a few of them where there are children at the center of the story, it's so vital that you find kids, that can hold the weight of that. And I was really nervous about it. We didn't have a long time in casting. But man, both Skywalker and Emily, after weeding through many dozens of auditions, both of them were the ones that showed up and you just go, oh my gosh, is that girl really 5 years old and can deliver this kind of performance? Is it possible that she could really do this? I assumed we'd have to cast an 8-year-old to play that role. There's dialogue and there's emotional complexity, and the rigor of what it takes to go through a shoot at that age is very challenging. There's so much great chemistry between Ed and Sharon, between Alan and Hilary, where he's this quiet, strong, silent, hardworking blue-collar man who doesn't want to accept help from anybody else, likes to do everything himself. And then Sharon, played by Hilary, who just has no boundaries and is loud and is this splash of color who just crashes into his life. Whether he likes it or not, she's gonna help him to save his little girl. And so it leads to a lot of great sort of funny conflict where he's out of his comfort zone, needs this woman's help, and is very uncomfortable needing her help. And she has no trouble allowing him to be uncomfortable while she gives him help, whether he likes it or not. So there's a lot of great scenes of that, of just watching her, push her way into his life and watching him off balance as he accepts help that he doesn't want to take. I hope this is a film that will inspire others, because we live in very divisive times. I feel like a true story, an honest, heartfelt, grounded human story about people helping other people they don't even know, is very inspirational. I mean, Sharon mobilized an entire community of people to help this family. And so, yeah, I would love to think that people will watch this movie and go, that really happened almost 30 years ago. And it's the kind of thing that maybe we should be thinking of doing for each other more and more, you know. I feel like it's so easy these days to draw lines in the sand and to turn on one another, but this is a story of people supporting each other and helping each other, and so I would hope that it would inspire people to do the same.
They all have a lot of heart. There's some inspirational based films that he's put together. He's just the right guy for this project. And I think that he had the unique ability to bottle it all up and to build all the kind of pressure on Ed that was really there at the moment, you know, that most people didn't quite, you know, understand just how much the guy went through, you know, to get this done. And then Sharon is really just an absolute hero. She's just a common hairdresser. She raised that tens of thousands of dollars. She put a ton of her own money into trying to help the kids, and just would not say no. You know, she just wouldn't take no for an answer. And when I read the script, I realized that the pace, the timing, the character development, it felt like I felt understanding the story, sort of walking through the cold and trying to interview people, and I could just feel their absolute raw passion for what had happened and their inability to express it. You know, it's like, it's just amazing. And sorry, I'm sort of a basket case about this project, but it was just amazing that John just put it all into one, you know, 100+ page script, and I just was floored by it. It's a strange kind of buddy film almost. It's a film about community, you know, and it's about the sort of inhumane things that happen to common people, and yet the amazing things that common people can do. And I named the treatment angels because 2 little girls had described to me that they made angel wings in the snow when the helicopter took off. You know, they did the sort of lay in the snow and make the angel wings right with their feet. And that sort of tore me up. And then John changed it to Ordinary Angels, which is a much better title, you know, because it's about ordinary people doing extraordinary things and really just being selfless. I was really floored when Hilary Swank agreed to play the part, because she's got the acting chops to do it. You know, she's won an Academy Award for good reason. Everything she's done has been done, you know, with tremendous range, you know, and heart. And she kind of reminds me of Sharon. She's got that sort of innate toughness. I just watched him on Reacher, you know, so I'm sitting at home, and I didn't know he was cast in the part. I said, man, this guy's going to be a movie star. The first time I saw him on TV, I had no idea who he was. And I was just telling my wife that, and I told a couple other people. I said, I just watched this guy. I told my son, you know. And then, lo and behold, they said, oh, guess who we cast for Ed? It was Alan Ritchson. And I went, my gosh, what a weird coincidence. We have one face that we show, you know, when you're talking to your mother, to your friends, to your boss, whatever. We all have sort of masks that we put on. But when the mask is down and you're just the core person that you really, really are, sometimes you realize that there are things inside you that can rise up, and that you can do meaningful things. You know, you can do more than just exist and watch TV and go to bed. And I think that people are looking for moments when they can shine. And I think that people may find strength in this film that they didn't know they had.
What inspires me the most is how this community really rallied together. You know, when a community puts their mind to it, not just the church itself, but the community of Louisville, and you know, through getting the word out and whatnot, anything can happen. I mean, literally, you can come together, and if we just come together with like-mindedness and a singular focus, anything can happen. And here, what happened was the life of this tiny little child was saved through the most extraordinary, impossible of circumstances. And to me, it's about a rush of hope. It's about lifting people up, lifting the human spirit up, and the human condition. I always love going into movies where if I feel good about life, if I feel good about my life after I come out 2 hours later, then that was an investment well worth it. And so those are the types of movies that I want to make. So we were really, in my opinion, blessed with the cast that we have that came together. I mean, Hilary and Alan and Nancy and Drew and all the others, I mean, came together. They're so perfect for the specific roles that they played. And And what's wonderful is having a director that you completely align with. I mean, you know that the story and the vision that he's trying to create. And so at that point, it's like, okay, let's get along for the ride. And what can I do to support you and make sure that vision comes to life? It's been a 3-decade journey with me and John Gunn. So I produced his first film, way back in 1999. And we've done 4 or 5 movies together. And so I trust him. I understand what kinds of stories he wants to make and what his vision is. And so he's such a talented screenwriter and a filmmaker and a director, and he's great in the edit. And we just know each other that well that I know how to come along and support. And I love the types of movies and the types of stories that he wants to make. And he's an endless worker. He's like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, literally the guy I don't know when he sleeps. And so I love his work ethic. It's just super strong and solid. But his talent is certainly there, where he can just bring out the emotional, cathartic moments in a story and really make them shine and come to life. And this one, the true story of it all, has them all over the place. Hilary just brings a gravitas, a talent that you just love. In fact, when we first started talking about her, we weren't even sure if she would be totally interested, but I've loved her body of work. I mean, what's not to love about all the movies that she's done? They're just so, she has a way of really drawing you into a story as a film watcher, and keeping you there, like holding you there in a way that you really want to know. You're pulled in, and you really want to know what's going to happen. And so for me, it's a gift to be able to have her as a part of this cast, because she brings it's kind of this strength that Sharon has in real life that's shown on the page, and Hilary has that strength in her repertoire. Alan Ritchson, what is not to love about him? I mean, he's the biggest surprise to me out of everybody, because he's, my only familiarity with him was watching the Amazon series Reacher, and so he plays this certain character, and when I first met him, I'm like, oh my goodness, he's like the most lovable big guy I've ever met. I mean, he's just got a heart of gold. He wants to give everything he receives away, and it comes across on screen where it's like, how do you not root for this guy? He's such a loving, caring, giving man, and to have those attributes in your own persona comes out so easily for him, and that's who Ed is. Tamala's a gift. I mean, she shows up and she does her thing and she nails it, and Rose is obviously, to me, is the heart and soul of this thing, and Tamala is such a great actress. I'm thrilled that she wanted to do it. Again, feel really blessed to have her. This whole cast is just so talented that we've brought together, and what I love is that they're all equally passionate about the story. So they're not here just to, hey, I get to act in a movie, but they actually love the message behind this story, which is, if we just put our own selfish desires down, we can come together and we can rally and we can do extraordinary things. I think the message is if time is short, time is so limited while we're here on this earth. I mean, we realize that when we lose close ones, loved ones that are really close to us. And so the power of people coming together, we can do more together than we can do by ourselves in one single unit. And the more people that come together, I mean, if we hold hands, we can literally lift the entire world up. And so this is what this movie shows, is that if we die to ourselves and we put ourselves below the importance of other people in our life, that we can do extraordinary things and even heal people in their weakest moment of life and really lift them up. The way John Gunn has just captured some of the moments where Sharon just doesn't want to give up. Even when Ed, he's like, Ed fights, but then you sometimes see a little bit of a crack, but Sharon's right there. She's like, no, we're not going to give up in this moment. I know that you're facing impossible odds. And to be able to see Sharon as just sort of a shadow of who Ed, that void that Ed needs in his life, because he lost his wife, and there's Sharon, this angel out of nowhere. Like, it's like, what motivation does Sharon have to be able to do what she does? But one that is completely selfless, because she has no selfish motivation in her entire effort to be able to lift this family up in their most dire need, and to save the life of this young little girl. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. We always think angels as something that's not attainable, right? Angels are heavenly, they're angelic. We all kind of would love to have an angel by our side to kind of save us from ourselves in that moment of mistake and despair and all of those things that we kind of come across in our life, health issues, whatever it might be. Ordinary angels means that, you know, there's angels all around us and we're unaware of where they are. And if we just look for those moments where maybe if it's me, if I can be an angel to a person that's out there, then just to be able to bring it some humanity and to bring it that much closer so that we can attain it, so that we don't give up on the fact that that you and I, all of us could be angels in our daily life when we wake up, you know, and look for something or someone to be able to impact in that day, in that moment. Well, I think this movie is going to inspire others just through the power of the story. So the power of Sharon's story in that moment and what she did to be able to overcome all odds, to be able to help somebody that really she wasn't expecting anything from. And so to be able to see that in that moment, I think is going to be inspiring for so many people. I mean, even for me, even though I'm producing the movie, I can't wait to see this movie in theaters, because I want to be able to experience that rush of hope of what Sharon does, what her story does, to be able to provide that inspiration for me in my life so that I might be able to impact other people. While you go to the movie theaters to totally be entertained, and so as a filmmaker, I'm completely cognizant of that. But if you want a story, I always love stories that just provide that extraordinary, that emotional, inspirational moment.